Well, let's talk more about this misinformation and disinformation that has been flooding the internet in the wake of this Israel-Hamas war. Joining me live is chairman of AI.io Data Science, Terence Mills, and Dr Alison Powell, a digital media specialist from the London School of Economics. Good evening to you both. We set out at the start of the show, Terence, about what has happened since Elon Musk took over X. He's made some improvements, some would say, to the quality of information shared with community notes, but fired a moderation team. And then we've seen this proliferation of videos, some deep fakes, some out of context. I mean, how concerned are you by what has emerged since the outbreak of this war?
I think it's a big challenge. And I think that we're all faced with the challenge, and especially from the perspective of AI and what we do on a day-to-day basis. In of itself, AI has taken over to a great extent in a number of the models that proliferate the internet to display stories, images, pictures, old, new, made up, that can be a problem because they often hallucinate in terms of their accuracy. I think based on that, we have some work ahead of us to make sure that AI remains safe and is properly, if not regulated, has the proper rules and regulations around it to control. And we're seeing that in what's happening right now since the start of this war.
Yep, absolutely. Governments everywhere as well, seemingly to have woken up to this at the moment and getting serious now about regulation and about cracking down on this. On the ethics side of things, turning to you, Dr Alison Powell, because you specialise in this with regards to media and journalism. I mean, the real world effects of the sharing of this type of information, we see it, don't we, in these events?
Yes, we absolutely do. And I think with the changes in the policies at X, formerly Twitter, we're also in a media space where we are missing a lot of the kind of independent journalism that people used to depend on when Twitter was under previous ownership, and also before the most recent changes in what's called the content moderation. And content moderation is checking to make sure that information is true and that it hasn't been generated by AI. And one thing that Elon Musk has done is to remove a lot of that capacity. And as well, because there's so much limitation on journalists who are located in Gaza, for example, because of the current lack of access to electricity, we're also really short on information coming from the various different perspectives within this conflict. So I think this really shows the importance of regulation of media and also the lack of seriousness with which Elon Musk seems to have taken his responsibility in taking over a media company.
Yeah, I mean, one of the great debates that always happened about Twitter before Musk took it over was whether it was a platform or a publisher, and thus whether it was within or outside of certain types of regulation. The the European Commission coming out with a warning actually yesterday, Terence, and saying that Elon Musk does need to get serious about this. And they want to see some type of action taken on the level of disinformation over the last few days with regards to this war. And do you think he takes it seriously enough from what you see?
I don't. I don't think that there's an understanding of the impacts that this has in the general populations around the world viewing information that may be misinformation and not correct. I think that that's problematic because people take it as fact in a lot of cases. Because we take it as fact, that's what we call in the tech space a hallucination. And that in of itself is a problem. You can say that the information itself is truly not correct. It may be fake, but because it's posed as a fact, it makes us, in a lot of cases, responsible for what we choose to put out into what is today open source. And open source information is deemed as fact, but if it's incorrect, then that can cause harm in a lot of different areas. And it's really concerning, and I think it needs to be taken far more seriously, and that Elon Musk needs to do the same in controlling his media business now.
Dr. Alison, open source there mentioned by Terence. It is a noble effort and endeavour, and does allow for the democratisation of journalism when you allow everybody to view all the information at the same time and make their assessments based on that and allow anybody to submit information. But walk us through some of the problems that have occurred.
Well, I mean, Twitter is no longer really an open source, or formerly Twitter, no longer really a kind of open source space. And open source information is used by professionals who often have high levels of expertise. When we're thinking about what we might call a media public, we're thinking about people who don't always have the right context to determine what is correct information and what is not. And now we have a worldwide conflict where we have a responsibility. There are responsibilities that are played by all media organizations, including the one that we're appearing on tonight, to provide sort of fair and balanced information. And this is one of the reasons why the European Commission has warned Elon Musk that he has 24 hours to explain how his content moderation processes are going to work, because X as a platform is no longer considered to be this kind of open information space. It has more than 45 million users, which means that it reaches the criteria at which the European Commission Digital Services Act, which is a new law that's just been introduced across Europe, that says, okay, right, now you've got this many users, you are effectively a digital media company, and you need to explain to us how you are going to ensure that the information that appears on your platform is correct. So tell us, how are you looking at that information? How are you determining that it's correct? And if you can't show us, then we are going to fine you.
Terence, just finally to you, mentioned harm before that is caused by this type of activity, but also I'm interested by this idea of hallucinations and AI. In terms of how AI can be used to help assist humanity and assist journalism, do you think there is ways of navigating that type of harm?
I think there absolutely is. But I think that it still has yet to be defined. I don't think that people really understand AI to the extent of how it works and why it is AI. I often try and give back to this industry as much as I can by educating. And in that education, the description of which is what is AI and how can we use it in a responsible way to display information, conduct remedial tasks, and to do things of value, not things that can otherwise cause harm and impact populations in a very negative way in which we have no control. And it is so important what is happening that I do believe that the EU is in a much better position to guide regulation on this. I do believe the US is in a much better position to likely develop it. Based on those facts, I think that we have mutual responsibility in how AI needs to be conducted moving forward.
Terence Mills, Dr. Alison Powell, thank you both for your thoughts on this topic.